so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. After years of exploring this awe-inspiring truth on this podcast, I am super excited to announce that we are now going even deeper down the rabbit hole on the new late-night style consciousness elevating talk show called Optimistic, which features epic soul share interviews from the world's brightest luminaries, live painting from mind-blowing visionary artists, high-vibe musical performances, and last but not least, none other than you, the listeners. The show is being filmed out of the epic spaceship-esque property called the Mystic Manor that myself and the rest of the Optimistic crew now navigate reality from in the transformational vortex of Venice Beach, California. And there are multiple exciting ways you can co-create Optimistic along with us. Everything from coming to experience a life-changing, transformational Mystic Manor immersion week with me and the rest of the Optimistic family, which consists of workshops and unique experiences, including being on the show itself, to coming to participate as an audience member during a live taping, to viewing behind-the-scenes footage at the Mystic Manor each week, longer-run overtime interviews with my soul share guests on each episode, and even peeking in on our workshops and healing sessions each week. All of these options are outlined in detail on the webpage optimistic.tv. That's spelled OPTIMYSTIC.TV. To be perfectly frank, the cost to produce Optimistic is the biggest stretch I've ever made in my life, and it has been a huge leap of faith for me, trusting that if I leap, the net will appear. So if your life has been enriched by Positive Head in any way, I'm asking you to pay it forward at this time by going to optimistic.tv and choosing one of the many ways to co-create and support the evolution of this podcast that is most in alignment with you so that we can reach a broader audience. There are options as low as $2.22 a month. You can even virtually experience life here at the Mystic Manor for only $7.77 a month. I would also like to just thank you in advance for honoring our soul contract to show up at this very special transitional time in our collective journey, as well as showing up for all the souls out there that will surely benefit from the monetary currency you are inspired to flow into this project to help us all step into a more optimistic world. Once again, the webpage is OPTIMYSTIC.TV. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you all soon at the Mystic Manor. All right, all you positive heads. On this week's Soul Share episode, I'm very excited to have Kimberly Friedmutter here with me on the show. Kimberly is a former model and actress turned celebrity hypnotherapist and now author of the recently released book, Subconscious Power, which basically shares how to use your inner mind to create the life you've always wanted. Super excited to dive into that very topic with you today. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely excited to dive in deep with you here. And I like to always start at the same very predictable opening question, and that is this. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 60 seconds to answer. What do you say?
Today, I'd say my animals. I'd say my pets.
That's
I know,
great.
I miss them so much. When I'm working, I miss them. There's nothing like being deprived of something or not feeling like you're around it to miss it and enjoy it. But really, it would be the service heart, I guess, that I enjoy. most and what feeds me the most is just being of service in any way I can. So it sounds super altruistic, but I mean also service to myself. So in that, a happy camper.
Yep.
And I would just say serving and having a service heart would be the real answer to that.
I like that. And you know what? It really is. It's something that the listeners have heard me say who knows how many times over the 1,000 episodes of the show. But, one of my favorite quotes is Gandhi says, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. And I always add to that. Why? Why is that? Why does that hold true? Because there are no others. And, everyone being an extension of you and us all being sort of, the same consciousness in different forms, I believe. And so you start playing with that idea of being of service, and I call it the good kind of selfish, right? It's like,
oh, that's really good. That's great.
It really is, because whatever I'm doing to you, I'm doing to an extension of self, and I'm therefore going to feel the energetic repercussions of that action. And, I love that your answer. It makes a whole lot of sense why you're on the show.
Did you write a book? You should write a book.
I am definitely, you know what? That's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually wrote, I've got a book that's 95% done. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to launch a podcast first. And then I put it on the shelf, and I haven't went back to it. Now, of course, I'm launching this new television, video production, the Optimistic, that's coming out very shortly, and have already started filming. And so it's just, I haven't gotten back to the book, or books, but it's definitely on my list. And actually, when I was really young, that was one of the things when I was like 10 years old. I want to be a writer one day. And so I found
interesting.
I found, though, just to add real quick to that podcasting, why I resonated so much with it is I have so much to say. And when I write, I'm really anal about it and meticulous. And it's like, it'll come out great, but I sit there and just, revise it and analyze it. And as opposed to this, once it's out, and I can just sort of freestyle whatever wants to come through. And I can get a lot of information out without that meticulous editing of what I've written.
It gives you permission just to be and just to, because not every medium is for every person. Yeah. And so, and actually that could be a double entendre if you see mediums, if you're used to psychic mediums and the such. But the idea that things have to flow from you and you have to give them away in order to not paralyze is pretty interesting. So good for you that that, so you're not struggling over a book that you don't want to give up because it's not perfect yet.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. But I do feel it's in my future to sort of revisit that, because there is something really beautiful and special and wonderful about books, and I love them. I read less than I have in a very long time because I have so much on my plate. And you can probably relate to that as a very busy person who's this was your first book, right? It took you a while to get to it.
Yes, in fact. Yes, and I wasn't even thinking about writing a book. How it came to be was I was asked by a woman who was working at HarperCollins, and she reached out and asked if I'd be interested in writing a book because she'd heard, I guess, about my practice, and I think they have a development team there, and they look into people like myself and whatever. So we crossed paths, and I said, that's a great idea. How would I even start to do that? And so she and I worked through it together. And you do, first given a proposal that's like an 80 to 100 page document. So basically you're writing the book and deconstructing it into this document that they need to see in order to see if they want to buy it. And it's pretty detailed, it's chapters and it's a lot. Yeah. And so once I handed that to her, which took about a year, I'm not afraid of time, you can tell. Right. So I don't worry about anything that takes time, but it was about a year, and I went to hand it in to her, and my agent did at the time, and she left HarperCollins. And so the agent said, this is great because now we can take it out on the market and see what we really have. Yeah. Because in truth, when you put something out, and especially a document style, something that's a tactile, real thing like a book, it needs to be right. So your analyze, paralyzed capacities would be, it'd make a great editor for you because you'd be able to like go through and really meticulously look at every word. But the funny thing about that is you need to be somewhat forward thinking because, times change so quickly and books take a long time to print, right? And to publish. And so by the time this all happened, it was about the span of 5 years. And Simon & Schuster bought the book. There were quite a few people interested in it. And so it worked out great on my end. And, all books land in the hands and on the desks that they belong on. So even from the reader's end users aspect, the end user, whoever buys this book is meant to buy the book. That being said, I'm happy to say that on the third day it was out, it was #1 bestseller and #1 new release in Amazon in its category. And I was so pleased by that because it just showed that people truly are interested in what their thoughts are. You know, meditation and all of these things that have been around so long, and of course, hypnosis, which has been around forever. And the beauty of that is it's all been modernized. We've taken it and we've really made it accessible and usable and understandable and masticatable and digestible and all of those things to us, so that now we can really like use it. Like I just got a text from a gal, I've lost my earring. And so there's a thing in the book about how to find lost items, how to find great parking spaces. I know. And I got an email. Let me just see if I can pull it up. It was from a gentleman. He, just to paraphrase, he basically said, just a quick shout out. My son had lost something. I used the hypnotic hack to find it. Boom, we got it, over and out, so it's like in 30 minutes. 30 minutes they found it. So there's a way that you can use this inner mechanics of yourself and your inner machinery that you have. I can't sell it to you and you can't buy it. No one can touch it. No one can operate on it. No one can give it to you. You can't give yours up. It's that all important subconscious mind. That's the part of the mind that we so many times ignore unless we're saying, darn it, I knew it. I should have paid attention. Case in point, we're double-minded. So we have our consciousness and then we have our subconsciousness. And sub, of course, is slightly under the surface of. So consciousness is how you run your day and how you, task make and how you get things done. And then subconscious is all the touchy-feely things. So like your emotions and your dreams and aspirations and what do you want to do with yourself and how do you look at symbolism. We can all agree that when we look at a peace sign, we feel better.
Right.
If we look at a smiley face, we feel better, right? And that's because
sacred
symbolism
geometry.
is exactly. And what's beautiful about it is that's in our system. That's already preloaded in our software. So we have that. And so why not just use that to your best advantage, like many advertisers do, like many things that are meant to move you. Music uses it. Music really touches our core. When we're at a concert and we're all waving back and forth, we're entranced by our entertainer, right? Our favorite musical artist and entertainer is simply our hypnotist at the moment. They've got us entranced and mesmerized.
Right. Very, very interesting. I love the thought that, someone can learn a hack to find their keys or, something like that.
Yes.
It's like,
it's true.
So useful. And
we're so busy, like I said to the publisher, I said, please let's not do a book that's like one more thing for someone to do because we're so busy. And I myself, as my best customer, don't want to be handed a book and say, hey, read this because now you're going to have to do all of this stuff. I don't want to journal. I don't want to do all those things. That's fantastic for those that do. It's not my style. I want quick in. I want quick out. I want to find my keys. I want to run out the door. I want a great parking space. I want to enjoy my friends.
Exactly. Exactly.
Please.
It makes me think of my brother every time there's a dessert at the family table and he doesn't like to eat after people. So he, let's say there's a dessert that everyone's going to share. He's like, he'll grab a spoon. He goes, I'm in and I'm out. I'm in and I'm out. I'm in and I'm out. And he'll go real quick and get his bite,
See, man knows what he wants.
Exactly. So before we go too deep into the subconscious power and delve deeper down that rabbit hole, I'd like to back up just a little bit and get some background. I always really enjoy, and I know the listeners really enjoy getting some background on who we're talking to and how you ended up here, because it seems you've had a pretty interesting journey up to this point.
Oh, I have. Yeah, thanks for noticing. It's been fun. So I am easily bored and I
Mm-hmm.
am very curious. And so if you put those two together, it makes me perfect and lends me to all kinds of careers and
Mm-hmm.
pathways and decisions and all that. And experiences as a result. So yes, so at 14, I was out the door and over in New York and Europe modeling.
Oh,
So,
wow. At
what's a girl to
14.
do? 14,
Wow.
yes. And I would say that the 14-year-olds now are much more mature than we were then.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't know if they are now wiser. I do believe we were wiser then.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that wisdom, that broader sense of knowledge, which you were talking about being 10, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of interesting because when you're 8 is the time that you're still in your primal you. You're still very attached to impulses and gut feelings and instincts and those things. If you've ever been around an 8-year-old or been around one lately, they call you out on your stuff. They have no
Uh-huh.
problem telling you,
Yep.
so honesty, moral, judgmental, all those things, because they're not at that point where they've learned to play well with others completely. So they might not bite their friend because they made them mad. They might, still pout and things like that, but they haven't unlearned their broader sense of and scope of knowledge. They haven't unlearned that primal behavior yet. As we mature, we start to go to school, we start to hang out with people. Now we're at someone else's house, we behave, we do all these things, which then pretty soon we find ourselves so PC and so, overanalyzed, paralyzed, as you were saying before, that we can hardly move and we
Yeah.
don't honor that subconscious primal part of us that starts to fade off in a way.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be 8 years old. It could be 10, it could be 11, it could be 6. It's that area, that time frame when, if you have a child this age and you're listening, please, please, please amplify their attachment to their primal being. Because if they say to you, I thought that was going to happen before it did, start just clapping, just go, yay.
Right,
Very
right.
good. What's that? I'm clapping because you paid attention to what you were thinking, your
Right.
impulse, your gut.
Right.
Because how many times do we say, I knew I was right. I knew it. And we did the other thing anyway. It's
Yep.
because we're more practiced in doing that other thing anyway. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
we don't want to do that. It only creates, like, how much does one person have to take? So anyway, needless to say, 14, I'm out the door modeling and whatnot. And then I moved to Los Angeles and started, acting and did that model acting segue thing. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started doing some writing. And then that led me to writing and producing the radio show on 97.1 KLSX FM, which was the only FM talk station in Los Angeles at the time. And it was the home of Howard Stern.
Ah, wow.
Yes. And so, because FM was primarily music and DJs. And
Right, right,
so
right.
FM talk was, really great. We had a nice long bandwidth and whatnot. And then Howard went to satellite. So, it was a really nice radio career. And in that, I had just really engaged in continuing education. And in that, I started learning hypnosis. The reason I was excited to learn hypnosis was because I'd been hypnotized in the past for things that I couldn't get past, like stage fright,
Ah,
performance anxiety, all those things that were linked together and tied together, that I wouldn't have the career I had in radio, certainly listened to by millions and millions of people, had I not gotten through that. And it was the
right.
easiest thing I ever did. I'm a big fan of psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychiatry, all of the above. However, none of it hit it like it did going right into the root and yanking it out. And that sounds painful, like a wisdom tooth
Right.
extraction, but not at all. And so comfortable and so easy that when it actualized and when I was really, performing without the anxiety and I really wasn't having stage fright and experiencing it, I could hardly believe it. So I thought, I just want to know now what's behind that machine.
Sure.
What's behind that machinery and what's making that happen.
Interesting. And so that basically opened up Pandora's box for you into studying and understanding the power of the subconscious mind.
Yes. And so then, of course, because I have to be the best at what I do, I started my practice. I worked at it. I developed it. I was able to manifest these 6 principles, which have worked across the board no matter what the issue. So because now you have the protocol, which is hypnosis and trance and really going in and working in the deeper part of the psyche. But now, it has to be accepted. It has to work. It has to be, constant. It has to be predictable. It has to be reliable. All of those things. And those 6 principles held up under every circumstance, every issue, every single thing that walked through my door. By thing, I mean issue and presenting problem. So much so that I thought there's got to be another 6 principles that, could be developed under and behind these. They're so raw and basic to human nature and our human condition that they're just real constants. You can't throw them. And so I use those, and I use them in my private practice. I see people most every day. And, it's really interesting. So I see people in Las Vegas and Los Angeles and New York and really wherever people are, that need, I go to. Like remember how you wouldn't remember. I actually don't remember either, but I've heard about house calls. Doctors come.
Right.
See you at the house. And so,
I actually saw a house call not too long ago. I had someone staying with me just in town for a doctor visit, and they had a house call. And I had never seen it before. The doctor came to her. So I have seen it one time.
Not a booty call.
It was a house call.
You're
not.
Sure.
I mean, if it was a booty call, I wasn't privy to that part of the meetup.
The exam, right? Well, good for you. I didn't know they do that anymore.
I didn't either. But you never know with the, like you said, maybe there's more going on there than I was aware of.
Never know.
Never know. Oh man, that's funny. So you said 6 underlying principles that you've basically figured out that that help you with all sorts of issues or help you get to the root of any problem. I would love to hear them.
It's like you talk about Pandora's box. It should be the keys. Let's
go into Pandora's box, please.
Yeah. So the first of everything really is accountability. And that's every system. It's every, thought process. You can't come, like when you put maps into your phone and, it doesn't say, it says, where do you want to go? But you really need to know where you're starting from. And that's true of any system, any working system, especially hypnosis and trance, because here's the thing. Is that if we have that inner 8-year-old inside of us, that is the part of us that's that primal, pure part, we have strayed from that if we're beyond 8 years old. It's just a fact. We've learned other things and unlearned our primal nature. And so how far have we strayed? Many, many times I'll be sitting in session with many people, at times if I'm doing a group or whatnot, and they will be so resentful and so bitter and so upset. And, maybe it's divorce or sick children or loss of job or loss of mate or relationship or, loss of sense of self or whatever, weight gain. I mean, it can be anything. Pick your thing.
Right.
But the point is that there's that part of us that we want to get back to that true thing. And that takes a look in the mirror at who you've become. And not so much the steps of how you became her or him, but who you've become. And in fact, the chapter I write about tonkas and tutus, tonkas, gender wise for the boys and of course tutus for the girls. But here's the thing is that coming into accountability, nothing matters other than just really realizing where you are. And of course, we all know how we got here. And so that's principle 1, easy to do. Yep. Second principle is tapping into your subconscious. So that's understanding what it is and what it sounds like, feels like, smells like, and looks like. So, because it's this thing, no neurosurgeon can work on it. Like you can't have the smartest brain surgeon in the, world working on your mind and or on your brain organ and tapping into that. You just cannot. And so it's yours. It's 100% organic. It's 100% sustainable, 100% natural, 100% private, should you choose to keep it that way. It's the sense of us that really is the you inside of you.
Right.
So if you look in the mirror and you really want to get to brass tacks, that's the part of you that you're talking to and that you're communicating with. And also the part of you that's crying out, because your subconscious prime directive is survival. It wants to survive. That is its number one thing. So all those little taps on the shoulder, like, hey, did you turn off the oven? Did you close the garage door? Did you, remember to call, Sue? All of these things are meant to have you have a successful survival story.
Right.
So tapping into your subconscious is very important. You want to know this. It's like if I came into your office there and I plunked down this amazing machine and I said, this machine is going to be your ally. It's going to be your everything from the time of your conception to the time of your transition. All you have to do is plug it in, and here's the manual, subconscious power of how to operate it. You would do that in a heartbeat. And especially if I told you that between the space program and the anything else program and AI and all of these things that science is scrambling to keep up with the human brain and mind, you'd say, I want 2 of them, please. That's how great it is. So the next principle is, do you move toward or away? And this is principle 3. And the reason I put that as principle 3 is because it's about orientation. People don't think, do you move away from things that you don't like, or do you move toward things that you do like? Or perhaps you're the type that moves toward things that you don't like. There's a lot of those, and I know you know who you are when you hear it. But even bacteria moves away in a petri dish from things that it imagines are harmful to it, from harmful stimulus. So if bacteria has the sensibility to move and has that DNA, recording inside to move away from something that it perceives as dangerous, why don't I? Right? So how many friends do you know? They're like, oh, I knew, she was dangerous or it was dangerous, and I went anyway. I knew this thing about the stock market and I invested in it anyway. All these different things that we do, but we don't pay attention to our orientation. Again, going back to maps, it asks you where you are, it asks you where you're going, and it gives you the right direction. The subconscious wants to do that so desperately that it's constantly giving you little hints, stop and tie your shoe. Maybe you want to rethink where you're going. The phone rings. Oh, maybe you should turn around and figure that out, and take that phone call. It's always giving you these impulses. It's always giving you these chances to listen to it. And so moving toward or away, if you find yourself, at point B where you're just not happy, you can look and say, did I move away from things that I was either afraid of or that I considered bad for me? And I was so busy looking at that thing that I was just flailing into something new and different, right? New town, new job, new relationship, all the things. Or was I really focused in looking at where I wanted to go and doing that and running that program? So orientation is hugely important. The next principle, which is principle 4, is a touchy, sticky one that people like a lot, and that's judge thy neighbor and thyself. Now, I'm here to bring judgment back. And the reason I'm here to bring judgment back is because 8-year-olds judge. They just do. They have judgy eyes. They have judgy attitudes. They judge. And they judge for their successful survival. So again, it's a primal judgment. It's not, do you look great in that color, good in that outfit or whatever. It's a primal judgment of ecology. Are you good for me? Am I good for you? Is this job that I'm getting ready to interview the right place, the next move? Is this something that fits into my pattern of well-being? Is this something that's in my blueprint? All of those questions are things that you don't have to think about if you will just have tapped into your subconscious, understand your orientation, and then judge for yourself if this feels good. Now, in the chapter, and it's a big chapter and it's an important chapter because I show you how when you shake hands or you come into contact with someone, is this person good for me in the short term, midterm, or long term? Is this person somebody that's going to take me to this next step? Say in work. I mean, how many people do we come in contact with during the day that we might not know? We may not be tapped in and we may not be able to decipher. It's like Morse code. What is my subconscious telling me? Because that broader sense of knowledge knows the path ahead of you. It knows where you want to go. It knows how you're going to get there. It's your ultimate built-in maps. So if you were pondering like, oh, this person might not be right, you know how on maps it says reroute, right?
Yep.
So for that, that's actually what your brain is doing. Maybe the lunch gets canceled, or maybe there's all these things. Like people say, oh, if it's hard, it's meant to be. I go, no, not at all. No pain, no gain. I don't believe that. No guts, no glory. I don't believe that. There's all these false beliefs that we've been set up to believe because it makes us feel better if it was hard.
Right.
Well, everything isn't easy, but what if it is easy?
Right.
If it is easy, it could be because you trailblaze that path through with your subconscious already ahead of time, much like The Secret. So case in point, the imprint at Simon & Schuster, which is Atria Books that published my book, published The Secret. And the idea that we summon something from out there is great, but where is that coming from? The summoning is coming from your subconscious.
Right.
That's powerful stuff.
Right.
That is the core. You're in control of that, so you can feel how you want about The Secret and the book and the message and all those things. But the truth is anything you want starts with you wanting it.
Right.
And you wanting it starts with that 8-year-old wanting it. And that 8-year-old wanting it is in your subconscious mind.
Right. Interesting.
The next principle is principle 5, give to get. Equally as sticky. And I love it for that because we are built on an energetic system law. So energy has to move to remain energy. Energy has to be given and gotten in equal proportions in order to sustain. So if you're giving to me, I need to be giving to you. If you're giving to me, I'm getting from you. So I better give to you so you can get from me. We have gotten very skewed and shy and coy about asking for what we need out of arrangements, out of leveraging relationships, out of everything that you could get from. We shrink away and we start to minimalize our needs. And I say, and especially to women, I say it's not attractive. It's not true. It's not in alignment. It builds resentment. It builds passive aggression. It builds a sense of lack of worth and value. So if you take it even on a natural level, like say to a plant. So if you have a garden, you'll know that the tomato plant, the tomato dies, it falls off the vine and it rots. And that rotten tomato feeds the new coming plant and that new tomato. Even in death, there's a give.
Right.
The government, perfect example. When you're philanthropic, you get 2 gets. One, you get to feel good, and that's a natural sensation and state of dopamine and serotonin and all these things that feel good because we've given. And the second get is the government of the United States of America will give you a write-off for that give.
Right.
And that's your second monetary give. Or get from the give. And what happens is if a big system like the government recognizes this so that more people will do it, how wonderful is that, right? So we have this system. Governments recognize it. Nature recognizes it. Every single thing recognizes. So why shrink away from it?
Right.
And why get coy? And why get out of your alignment? I want what I want, and it doesn't have to be stuff. It could be, I want a hello. I want to spend some time. I want a kiss. It can be anything at all. I want respect, whatever that is make sure you own that because you'll be the happy one. Again, just asking for what you want is that get gives you the happy. So that's the second get for you. And then the final principle is play big. Now the play big comes at the perfect time at the end because what happens in that shrink away, that give to get fixes is all of a sudden now you have all this energy and you have all this sense of value about yourself that you're ready to go out and just explode onto the scene and do what you do to your highest capacity. I need you to be great. And I'm so glad you are. Thank you. I need you to be great because it makes me great. I need to be great so that it makes another great. If we're all great, like the all boats rise in high tide,
right.
It's that mentality that globally then we rise.
Right.
My greatness doesn't take from your greatness. These are just old principles that work so deeply on the subconscious that somehow we've kind of just brushed them under the rug, or we've paid less attention. We've gotten very conscious minded, where am I going and who with and what's going to happen there. And obviously documenting every little single thing, every recording, every video, every picture, all of these things that we're not in it. And that subconscious is screaming to be recognized. And that's where your happy is. This book literally lays out, and I laughed because there was a comedian on the other day and he said, I've studied a lot about the secret to happiness, and I've spent a lot of time really looking and delving and discerning and all these things. And I've decided that I've figured out the secret to happiness. The secret to happiness is being really, really, really good looking. And when you get to that simple of a thought, you just go, okay, are you happy or are you unhappy? This is the easiest way to get there. Very cute.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It's like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
I know. So, but the whole idea is just so that you can use what you have. Because again, it's like I like to run, and I like to run because it doesn't require any equipment. I just have tennis shoes and off we go. The book, you don't require any equipment. The book are your running shoes. Literally just the thing to get from here to there. No equipment necessary, no long drawn out, journaling and not to pick on journaling, but for me, I just want to know it. These little hacks are 3 minutes tops, and they're just things that feel so natural to do that you literally, I could joke. It's a hypnosis joke. I could say they're so easy to do. You can do them with your eyes closed.
Right.
Yeah, I just made that
up. So you in the book basically provide some various exercises to implement. Yes. Some of this stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah. So just perspective shifting, perspective shifting. And you mentioned perspective earlier when we were chatting about, really, I know the value of that. And I know how incredibly important that is, that it is the experience that you set forth for yourself in moving forward into your future.
Yep.
Period. Your perspective, like even your face looks like your perspective. I could tell you your perspective by looking at your face. I mean, that's how much it shows and how much a part of us it is.
Yeah.
And so those slight perspective shifts feel really natural because they are. So the hacks are simply a guidance system for that. So just like your maps would give you, the written directions below the visual, this is the same thing. Let's close your eyes, go within, think of this, think of that, amplify the colors, bring it up, boom, you're done, you're out.
Right.
So I love the quickness of it. And I love the naturalness of it, because when you read it, you go, oh, got it. And then it's yours forever.
Right.
Throw the book in the bottom of your backpack, throw it in your office drawer, throw it in the bottom of your purse or floorboard of your car. It doesn't matter, because when that one event happens where you need to know how to either feel differently about it, shed the emotions around it, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, then you can just get in there, roll up your sleeves, it takes 2 seconds, and you're done. You feel better.
Right. Yeah, you get in and you get out, right? I'm in and I'm out. Give it to me quick.
That is very funny. That's so cute. And it's also good to have the first few bites of everything. Forget taking him to the buffet. He's got to be first.
Yeah. He was always, he has like horror stories of memories of me probably deep in his subconscious being like 8 years old and slobbering all over the bowl of ice cream and like ruining it. So
exactly. If he came to me, we'd have to disconnect that phobia.
Yeah.
He'd say, I have this phobic thing of, it's not Howie Mandel's fist bump, but it's worse. It's food being shared by others. It's kind of a common thing, just so you know, or just so he can know. It's fairly common that people don't like to what would I say? I would call cross-pollinate their food.
Right. Yeah. I guess it isn't the weirdest thing ever.
It's definitely not the weirdest thing. One of the things about the book too I want to mention is in the chapter about drought, and drought is my terminology for depression. And because when drought, you're in lack and you need sustenance, you need water, you need life-giving resources. And I identified 3 types of drought. So there's passing drought, which is, bad hair day, which I call hairnado. Or you have like a fender bender, or, something that hasn't gone your way, missed the bus, whatever it is for you. And then there's lingering drought, which can be, anywhere from a week, a month, a year, 3 years, loss of job or whatever. And then there's, sickness, family issues, whatever it is. And then there's habitual drought. And we all know the Debbie Downer and the ones that, they just can't, not to pick on Debbies of the world. It's just a slang term, but there's that I know I got an email. Don't say that about Debbie
Us
Downer.
Debbies.
Debbie, yeah, us Debbies. Debbies need love too, and you're absolutely right. I didn't make it up, and I wouldn't have made it up.
Right.
But it exists nonetheless. So, but the idea that someone is habitually in trouble that way, and you really have to kind of look at them like physically, like it's the ER, and you cannot go in and get them. There's nothing you can do like that other than lure them out with your light, because nobody likes to, and certainly no subconscious likes to be, a cave dweller and in the downer dumpy section, and nobody wants to be there. It feels bad. And if they're really honest with themselves and taking that first step of accountability, they would be the first to admit that to you. So you bring them out with your light and you lure them out with all the good things. And it's such a beautiful process. Most people know someone in their life like this, which is why I focus, where I focus on it in the book. But the idea that has to be the set point and the baseline for you is absolutely not the truth. That's just a subconscious gone awry and a conscious, like an overbearing consciousness. So once you raise the volume up on the subconscious and you lower the volume on the consciousness, you can restore balance again. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So
who doesn't want that?
Yeah, I mean, someone who just doesn't even realize that they're in the drought. Probably, I think they're right. I mean, there's some people who are just there and have been there their whole life. They're like, oh, this is what life is.
They think it's them.
Yeah.
Well, they think it's them. They say, this is me. Take it or leave it. And the ultimatum of not growing is never a good sign.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
If
Totally.
you find yourself saying take it or leave it, then check yourself on that, because
right. Absolutely.
something's going on. Yeah.
So is there any sort of advice that you would give someone who is, is basically, like you said, sort of luring them out with your light? I really like that the picture that paints, the idea of that. Any sort of like approach that you have as a suggestion to deal with that person in your life? Because you're right, almost everyone has someone like that, and probably oftentimes is frustrated, like, I don't know what to do about Douglas
the
Downer.
burden of someone. Yeah, Douglas Downer. The burden of it is very heavy, and so what most people do, unfortunately, is they leave. So they divorce the mate, or they leave the friend, or they start to retreat from the trouble.
Right.
So what I say is, imagine that if our pain and our trauma and problems that are on the inside of our heads were on the outside of our heads, and let's just say that it presented, forget about our heads, let's just say that it presented as like a broken arm. You wouldn't go running and screaming from someone who has a broken arm.
Yep.
You would run to them and you would get the medical help, right?
Yep.
So the problem with it being on the inside of us, not on the outside of us, is that you can hide it. And, accidental overdosing and the opioid crisis and all of the things that we're going through, anxious, anxiety behavior up, so many times more than it even was last year and growing, depression up from last year and growing. All of these stats come in, and it's staggering the amount of people who live with continually, and they may not present with, that's the thing, is they might be super cheery and happy on the outside. This isn't the one that you would necessarily pick off, but dangerous just the same, because they're not taking accountability for what's happening. So if they're not medicating, to get better, or they're medicating themselves, then this starts to be an issue, whether you can see it or not. But you cannot retreat from these people. You have to start really amplifying your good life and your good times. And that's what lures them out. So they have to see, they have to be a part of the pack. We're primal pack creatures.
Right.
And so we want to be where the action is. And so you lure them out that way. What are you doing Friday night? Come out with us. Now your friends all cower and everybody goes, no, not Douglas, not Debbie, not Doubting Thomas, leave them all home. But you cannot do that, because when they see and they start to get out of their conscious mind, and that inner 8-year-old starts to emerge and involve themselves, with these other kind of playtimes with their friends, you start to see that they emerge as this clean, pure them and leave the other part of that critical consciousness aside.
Right.
That's the part of them. Now, do you have to babysit someone forever? Do you have to buoy them up forever? Do you have to, really, really carry the weight forever? No. Because when they see the fun and when they want to be part of the fun, that's contagious.
Yep.
And just like any, how darkness in a room and the only way to get rid of it is turn on the light.
Yep.
It's the same thing.
Right.
If you go in to get this person, they will climb on your back to get out. And they will not think twice about it because they're practiced. Remember, we're very good at doing whatever we practice. And so, like I had a client today that has a mate that practices hurt. This mate has been hurt many, many times. And so hurt people, right?
Yep.
And so she practices hurt. Why is she hurting me? Because she practices it. She's an expert at what she does. They will climb on your back to get out. And then you will suffer. The family will suffer. The office will suffer. Whatever group that this person is in, you must light them up, light up your space like you would do anyway, and they can come into your space, but you must not go in and get them. You mustn't.
Interesting. I'm curious how you think this applies to someone who is exhibiting sort of mental health sort of characteristics, or like sort of schizophrenic behavior, maybe not making sense, and so that's a whole nother level, right?
So that's a medical thing.
Yeah.
So what happens is I would, and I have worked alongside medical professionals like that the person needs help and they're attended to medically.
Yep.
That is a very real thing, because our brain is chemistry.
Yep.
Now we can create chemistry in the brain, but someone like that has a clinical medical issue needs to be attended to medically by a medical professional. So the idea that you can feel better and get dopamine and serotonin and norepinephrine and all these things going in your own mind is super, super easy to do, because we do it when we dream. That's the trance state, when you're dreaming.
Yep.
We do it, you're running from the bear and all of a sudden the adrenaline's flowing and the cortisol's going and, all the muscles, the blood goes into your big muscles to escape the bear. That's a real physical process you're having while you're sleeping.
It's funny. I always say racing. Running from the bear in a dream. I always use that. Yeah, that's funny that you use that one.
Maybe we knew each other in a past lifetime. Maybe we both ran from the same bear.
In the same dream.
The bear in the same dream.
The astral plane bear.
Yes, let me know next time, and I'll text you. You text me, and I'll say, did he come to? Did you have to run from him?
That's funny.
And then if you don't text me back, I won't know if you got away.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But so the idea that your perception of what's happening is really happening. The mind doesn't make the difference. So if these people are experiencing schizophrenia and other mental issues, then of course, real for them. And so you always want to consult and get someone like that. Anytime you see that it's clinical, then that's a must. And then they can take it from there.
Yep.
My protocols can assist, but never, would I diagnose or get involved in a serious medical clinical issue like that.
Totally.
Yeah. But most of us don't have that, just so you know. Most of us are fine.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of comes up for me because there's been an issue that I've dealt with just very recently, where someone was exhibiting those sorts of behaviors and having to make a decision of sort of like, separating from them in a sense, and kind of going back and forth between the thought of, can you help them in some way versus, that gets into tricky territory.
Well, you help them by getting them help. That's how you help them.
Right. So I saw a quote, or I guess it would be a quote that you basically stated as your mantra that I really like, and I'd like to hear your take on it. Expect the exceptional. And I'd like to hear how what you think about that, how you conduct your life in a way that sort of puts you in that state, consistently.
Yes. Thank you. So I found that I was happier if I started at the top of anything. So, for example, even the book, let's just say that I'd had the book in mind and, had been working on it myself and didn't really know what to do. I would certainly go and contact the top publishers first. And I would expect that there would be some valuable information coming from those meetings. Going to the top, looking for the best parking spaces, looking for the best mate, according to you, whatever that is.
Yep.
Looking for the best and expecting the best to come through.
Yep.
There are some people who start at the bottom. There are some people who start in the middle. There are some people who don't believe that they can start at the top.
Right.
There are some people who procrastinate, apathy to action, I call it, where they're so afraid of the answer and so afraid of no's sometimes that it keeps them really from asking the people who might even say no. If you can't get a no, it's like when, if you've ever known people who, I don't want to ski because I don't want to fall. So I don't want to fly because I don't want to crash. It's that kind of mentality. And you really must, in order to have this full life, expect the exceptional for yourself. Because here's the thing, you usually end up getting it. When you ask, there's a response. And then also, of course, we all know that, no response is a response. And we also know that, if you don't get something that you thought you wanted, it might not be for you. And that's okay too. So if you have this healthy sense of your value and what you're entitled to and what you should expect for yourself and what you should go for, then we would all expect the exceptional. Expect it from yourself as well. This goes both ways. This doesn't mean just in what you can get. This means in what you can give. So, can you make this? One of my fun things is, how can I maximize my comfort? And I want clients. How can you maximize your comfort? How can I maximize your comfort? How can you maximize my comfort? And so how you can really quickly, to the point, maximize your comfort is by going to the top first, whatever that is. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's asking for the, best dollars for whatever service you provide, do that. If it's, expecting the best seat in the auditorium, do that. Whatever it is that you find exceptional, start there. You can always work your way back.
Right.
But when you start there, something really magical happens, is the delivery is there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I mean, that is the way, the path to co-creating, co-creating really the best life for yourself, I believe, in creating calling in magic. It's, I saw the quote a long time ago and I don't remember who to attribute it to, but it was something essentially that said, when you come holding your bag of sugar out to be filled, it will be examined to see how large it is. Like, meaning, what do you expect? What do you think you're worthy of? And so many people, tell a story of, I can think of a good friend who he's always, some of his partnership choices have left me very, very puzzled. But then I can say, he expects or feels that that's where he belongs, what his worth is. This person, not someone that I would ever view as exceptional, not in a judging way, but in just hey, that's you, dude, you can do better than this. Like, come on.
What they show you.
Yeah. And it comes down to his own, a lot of times, of course, self-worth. And I've always had this, this ability to just sort of really have the belief in myself and self-confidence to say, oh, no, I expect, I am an eternal optimist. I expect all the best things. I'm not going to settle. I've just told that story. So it's really the difference of telling the story of your worth. And of course, the universe, your subconscious, however you want to look at it, it's all interconnected. It's basically responding to that choice, that statement, that decision, that idea energetically. And so I think that's that's such a powerful thing to, in way to put it, expect the exceptional. It's kind of like be realistic, plan for miracles kind of thing. Same kind of thing.
Oh yeah, the Plan B thing. I mean, I don't get it, and that whole what is it? Plan for peace, but expect war, or be prepared for war, or whatever they say. No.
Right.
Absolutely not. Because here's the thing. If we took your friend, and this isn't to pick on your friend, so whoever it is, just forgive us for a minute.
Right.
But if you took your friend and your friend were an animal, a series of veterinarians would come in and they would tag the ear of your friend, and they would take them in for blood tests, and they'd say, what's wrong with your friend that in this mating primal way of mate selection, what's wrong with your friend that your friend is not trying to attract and not choosing the best mate possible for reproduction?
Right.
And we would tag his ear, and we'd bring him in, get his blood, and we wouldn't release him back out into the wild because we would think something was wrong with him. We really would. I mean, if we put it in animal terms, we would say this. Now, I created this metaphor because I have many, many beautiful clients that have beautiful daughters who are making less than beautiful choices of their mate. And the parents, and this isn't, again, a judgy thing, it's more of a survivalism thing, is the parents are thinking, oh my gosh, she's so smart, she's so amazing, why is she making this choice? And I'm telling you, if she was out on the tundra, she'd be tagged, loaded in the back of the truck, and blood drawn to see what virus she has that keeps her. And so what it is it's self-esteem, and it's it's definitely not expecting the exceptional for themselves. You've got that right. But what it really, really is that, it could be limited decisions. It could be false beliefs. It could be things, that conscious noise that has gone in and created fuzzy, buzzy sound around the clarity of the subconscious and around the clarity of survivability and successful survivability. So now if the children turn out wonky, then you go, okay, well, there you go. They got it from the paternal side, or they got it from the maternal side. And it's pretty easy to pick off. But you have to stop it before it gits to that point. Not you, but just saying each of us. We really need to make sure that we don't see the vet coming with the tag gun, because it could be meant for you. You could be next. But it's true. Like we think about it scientifically with animals, but for ourselves, we're like, oh, I love him. He's so nice. And then 3 years later, of course, the inevitable happens. It's interesting, isn't it? The human condition.
It really, really is. And it's really interesting how much power and ability we have to rewrite, the software that we're operating on. And so many people go their whole lives and haven't even, I think of, people, maybe my parents as an example, or generations before us that are like, haven't even considered that as a thing. Like, you know what I mean? They haven't even ever really self-analyzed, and now personal growth has become such a focus of so many. And it's like you're realizing like, oh, these tools are here for you to step to and start using.
Well, and I love entertainment and all that. And thank you to Oprah and Prince William and Heads Together and Lady Gaga and all of these people who really are making it now with these trumpets. They're trumpeting this information out as loud as they can, because we're not hiding it anymore. Our parents in our generation, they were taking pills to feel better, and that's what they were doing. And of course, many, many people in our generation now and those younger than us are doing that. And so it's kind of like we're seeing history repeat itself. So there's two things. There's one moment where the meditation and hypnosis and all that, because hypnosis really is considered the new meditation. It's a way of zoning out rather than the meditative zoning in. So instead of keeping thoughts at bay and this and that, we're allowing all of it to come, because the thoughts are, and there's a lot of science about it and still a lot of debate. What are dreams? Is dream, information in and information out? When we dream, is it, something prophetic? What is it exactly? Or is it just the junk of the day getting processed through to be tossed? We don't know. Some of them just are simply feelings that we take very seriously, and others are things that we simply toss. We don't know what it is. But whatever it is for you, that's the right thing that it is for you. And it is for sure coming from the subconscious. So if you allow that, when Johnny's daydreaming and the teacher snaps the blackboard and she says, get back in the room, don't daydream. That's absolutely not the right thing to do, because all the possibilities are real for Johnny when he's there. When he's in trance, he's planning. Mm-hmm. That's the work that's happening. So when your computer goes on screensaver mode, that's your computer, that's your computer zoning out. That's the reset button. If we didn't sleep, we'd die. Yep. If we didn't dream, we'd die, right? So we'd have all this information overloaded. So this processing plant, part of us, and this processing that's happening is deep in the subconscious. And it means, something means something to every being, every part of our DNA. Every single cell of us has some kind of integral part to the other. So for example, like when your eyes see all these millions of bits of information and, you remember something in your dream, and it becomes 10 feet tall and this big blow up animal. Let's say you saw a turtle. And then of course you're dreaming that you have this 10-foot inflatable turtle. That was important at the time that the eye caught the turtle, right? Mm-hmm. So all of this is information in processing and constantly going. Can't take it too seriously. Don't worry about anything too much. Just remember that your subconscious is always working for your survival. Whatever you see, hear, taste, smell, feel, all of it is what makes you you. Listen to your impulses, listen to your instincts, feel that primal gut part of you. That's you inside of you, that little 8-year-old that just knows better and will call you out on your stuff.
Right. Exactly.
So great.
Oh man. Yeah. It's funny because as soon as you started saying that, I started thinking about some of the things I said or did around that age that were, like walking up to someone and just saying something very sort of rude about their weight, but coming from a very innocent place, not really. And I might even be a little younger than 8, but it's so true. It's just like, there's no filter. It's just raw.
Yeah. The honesty is that part, the essence of that honesty is what we want to capture and recapture because it's there. And so, obviously with the, PC-ness of, keeping friends.
Yeah, right.
This is very important, right? Not biting your neighbor and things like that. But also the awareness of that breadth of knowledge and that wisdom. And, they sense things that 8-year-old senses things. You don't have to talk too much. You don't have to say too much. You don't even have to look too much. They sense it. They're very instinctual beings. Yep. And we have that still in us. So just to honor that part is actually makes your day so much easier. Again, it's not the one thing to do, but more like the 1,000 things less to do.
Right. Exactly.
Because, if you take a week, let's just say as an exercise, anyone listening would take a week that they follow their instincts and their impulses and they do exactly what, no matter how hard it is, because it's not always the convenient choice, is that that if you follow those instincts for a week and see how it turns out for you and see how you skip through the week, see how things line up, see how easy it is. Subconscious power is so fun because it'll remind you throughout the book to do that. It'll remind you, hey, what's the thought? Where are you now? Mm-hmm. Where are you now? And you go, oh my God, I knew it and I did it anyway. And then those stories will start to shift in. I knew it and I followed it and I succeeded at it. Mm-hmm. That's the story shift that starts to happen when you do it that way. Give yourself a week. It's so much fun because then it's like you're playing on your own terms.
Right.
And you say, I knew it, I followed it, and it worked out. And that will be the story because that is what the impulse is trying to tell you. It's trying to help you.
Right.
It's like your perfect little assistant, your stenographer, recording every single thing. Yeah. Recording everything, knows everything. Every 8-year-old's the biggest know-it-all I know.
That's definitely true.
Sure.
So I'm curious how you think some of this plays into, on the show, I have a lot of people talking about things, beyond the physical. So, and of course, consciousness is not something tangible that we necessarily even fully understand. And so I'm curious how much, when you start talking about these, getting to these root impulses, what your own personal take is on, sort of the origins of where some of this, intuitive stuff, for example, is coming from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I also integrate into the book soul spirit.
Good.
Soul spirit is hugely important in the book and in my life, because I find that every single client, first of all, I was raised in the church and all of this, and I was raised with a lot of different influences of belief and spirit and soul and all of that. So I was lucky in the sense that I got to see a lot, experience a lot, and then got to make a lot of my own choices on that and my own decisions. And then being out on my own, early, I really did have to rely on my own, feelings about soul spirit.
Yep.
That being said, every single client that I have had has said to me, and they're all successful. I see high performing professionals in various, different parts of the world and whatever professions, but it doesn't matter. Every single one of them has said the same thing. And that is that their life so far exceeded, and this goes back to what you were saying, expect the exceptional. Their life so far exceeds their wildest dreams that they couldn't have dreamt it up. They couldn't have manifested it. They couldn't have thought it. They couldn't have put it into place because they never felt it would be possible to do or even have an inkling or an understanding of what they were in for. Now, this is huge, right? Because I said, now, wait a minute, because, everything I had been told up until that time was, oh my gosh, if you think it happens, if you want it, it comes, all these things. But where do you get that influx and that boost when it's something that you yourself couldn't even think of? That is the greatness of thought. That's the greatness of retrieval. That's the greatness of channeling. That's the greatness of being a conduit. That's the greatness of receiving, transmissions and receptivity. It speaks to all of it, but to a bigger picture of it. Where is it coming from? Is that destiny? Is that faith? Is that belief? What is it?
Right.
Is it God? Is it, what? Nature, science? I don't know. And nobody knows. So I've called it soul spirit. The reason I called it soul spirit is because it's a one size fits all. It doesn't matter what it is to me. It matters what it is to you.
Right.
Soul spirit is clean. It can be religious. It can be scientific. It doesn't matter, because the purpose of the book was to get you into your mind space with the boost of whatever that is that you accept the boost of.
Right.
Maybe you accept the boost of, look, many people have come to me for past life regressions and they regress. I can't tell you if we've lived past lives. No one can really tell you scientifically if we have. I'll tell you what I've seen is I believe it's true from what I've seen and witnessed and experienced.
Right.
In my own office with a science mind. I have a science basis mind. So, it's fascinating. It is interpersonal. It is so delicate natured, it's so beautiful. It's like this beautiful butterfly, whatever it is that you want to experience. Now, I've been helpful to people, who have been searching for soul spirit and getting them, connected to that. Certainly. There's a great story about Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali in the book related to that. I myself have reincarnated two of my pets that had passed away. And that was a big synchronistic moment for me because I missed them and I didn't want to clone them. But because I didn't care about the shell, I cared about the essence of them.
Oh, wow.
And so I got them back.
Really?
And it didn't involve cauldrons. It didn't involve, chicken lips or bat wings.
This sounds like an interesting story.
I know. We might have to meet again, you and I.
Oh, wow.
So it was really fantastic. And I got life again with these pets. And so, and may I also say, without divulging who, but many, many people have done their pets now when they lose their pets, and it's worked out for them as well. So it's a beautiful process.
Calling that spirit back into another through a new pet
body. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just
exactly.
have some level of obviously,
well, first you ask.
Obviously, a skeptic would say, "Well, you can't prove that, and you're just projecting it."
Right, and you can't. Yeah, you can't.
Right,
you're right.
But in your experience, you feel like, okay, I'm sensing the essence of my former, So
more
pet.
than that, I know it. And I know it because the animal knows the same tricks.
Uh-huh.
The animal knows the same people. The animal likes and dislikes the same people.
Interesting.
And there's no reason, no obvious reason why they would dislike them or like them, right? So it's not like because, one has snacks and one doesn't.
Right.
It's not that easy. But seriously, and my husband is the eternal skeptic of all things this.
Yep.
And he will guarantee you, he will tell you, he's a Virgo architect, very linear. If it's not on the paper, it doesn't exist.
Yep.
And he himself is befuddled and amazed at what he has seen with these pets and our friends' pets. And so here's the thing. Pets sing to our heart. We love our animals. We love our creaturey people, I call them. I go, they're people too, but we love our little creatures. And the thing is if you feel it and it heals you and you feel the love of that animal again, did they ever leave?
Right.
And if not momentarily until the next one came, but really the body fails us. It's the spirit that lives on. So if you get the spirit back in a new body, then you get the X number of years back with that pet.
Right.
And I mean, not only did the one pet reincarnate, but she, unbeknownst to us, became pregnant and delivered, then beknownst to us because we saw that she was pregnant, but then delivered 2 puppies.
Wow.
So not only do I have the spirit of the original lost dog in this dog, but I have 2 puppies now from this dog, which is really the last dog. So you can imagine how special,
Yeah.
So these things can happen. I mean, I've never had puppies before. And oddly enough, they were born on the day of the transition of the original.
Oh,
dog.
wow. That's interesting.
I know. And the story around how the dog came, because when I was imagining the soul coming back into the dog, I was told that it would be, or I got the sense that it would be the 3rd puppy in the 3rd litter from the breeder that I had gotten the dog from.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So, and then it took a lot to get that 3rd dog. So anyway, the 2nd puppy had passed away and the 1st puppy had passed away. And then the 3rd puppy was the only survivor of that litter.
Wow.
And that was the puppy that had been predetermined before that litter even existed. So you can see how all of this lined up, unbeknownst to me. I'm just sitting back observing after the initial call out. But, our furry friends, we love them and they're so special. So I told my husband I'd try that next. I said, all these reincarnations that I sit through and assist with that, what do you want to be and where do you want to be if something happens, What should we do?
Right.
Very funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories of people, having their granddaughter, was their grandmother, or, it happened actually not too long ago with a friend of mine where someone who listens to the show, their young daughter started talking as the grandmother who'd long since passed and wanted to relay messages to, her daughter, like this whole thing. And I've heard a lot of these types of stories. So there's, you know, and with a human, it's a little easier to tell if someone comes and is, you know, I'm sure you've heard the stories of people that are born and said, okay, here's, you know, young children who said, my name was this, I lived here, I did this, you know, and they're able to verify, you know, these things. So it's and oftentimes it seems like you'll be born into the same line or same you know, physical family in some way, shape, or form. I've heard a lot of that too.
So that happened with the puppy. The puppy was born in the same bloodline as the original puppy.
Wow.
And so I know, and that was, you know, I was not expecting. And I also didn't tell the breeder that the dog had transitioned. I didn't want her to be, I didn't want to put any different energy on it than already was. I wanted it as clean as it could be.
Right.
I didn't want her to put her, you know, imprint on what she thought would be happening, which could affect our outcome. I didn't want any of that. And so she didn't know. And she said, oh my gosh, this is so interesting because this is the bloodline of, you know, the one you already have. And I thought, oh my gosh. And so then there was another interesting thing. Oh, Officer Phil. So there's this little boy that talks about Officer Phil, his imaginary friend. And Officer Phil is, you know, he needs a peanut butter sandwich. And so the mother makes a peanut butter sandwich. He loves peanut butter and he loves bananas on it and whatever. And so as it turns out, one day the little boy doesn't want to go to school because it's Officer Phil's birthday. Mm-hmm. And he wants to stay home and paint. Officer Phil said he wants to stay home and paint. It is his birthday and he does not want me to go to school. So she says, okay. It turns out that her great grandfather, he was a police officer. His name was Phil.
Oh, wow.
And his birthday was that day.
Wow.
And he was an artist.
Wow. What a trip.
Right? And this is a little boy. He's like 3 or 4 years old. So he could articulate that he and Officer Phil were not going to be going anywhere because it was his birthday. And Officer Phil would like to stay home and paint.
And if a ghost
and eat peanut butter and bananas.
Yeah, I mean, and if a ghost officer makes an order like that, you better listen.
That's right. Exactly. But those are the things, you know, and so it really does make you wonder. And then you think, why not? You know, if the greatest part of us is non-physical, then why not?
Yep. Would it be any weirder than the fact that you and I are here and having a conversation right now and existing, you know?
I'm in Las Vegas.
Yeah. It's like,
right.
I mean, we've gotten just very numb to the reality of being human, which is the absolute, I mean, as great a mystery as there could possibly be, the fact that we're here at all. And then you get used to it, and then it's like, oh, well, that's normal. That's weird. And then you start talking about something like, you know, reincarnating your pet, and it's like, oh, that's weird. It's like, no, you're just, you know, you're just not used to it. The fact that you're listening and understanding what we're talking about, that's weird.
That's weird, right. And scientific weird.
Exactly. So,
I love being alive.
Me too. It's such a good time, and it's getting better and better, I feel, as we continue to expand our awareness and perspective on who and what we are and how to, you know, level up as human beings. And, yeah, I mean, you know, as we sort of wind down here, I mean, you've kind of shared some magical stories already. I don't know if there's any other. I always love, you know, a great story of synchronicity or serendipity, positive paranormal story. I'll definitely left you off the hook because what you just shared is pretty fun. But I don't know if you have anything else that you had in mind that you were planning to share.
You know, I did have a synchronistic neat moment there. Like I had mentioned before, there's a story in the book about soul spirit, and it's about Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. And the other night I had agreed, actually Simon Schuster was a big help with this because ahead of the time of the publishing of the book, I had donated 900 copies to the Power of Love, which is the Cleveland Clinic Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health here in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And they have their big annual gala. And I really wanted, because, you know, this ties into autism and Alzheimer's and all of the other things. And so I really wanted the book to have a presence there and gift it in the goodie bags.
Yeah.
So here this story is about Mike Tyson and a favor that I was able to do. So, of course, I was so happy to do that. and it allowed Mike to be at this service that was Muhammad's final service. And he was asked to be a pallbearer, and just a small little thing I was able to do got him there. So
Wow.
moving forward. So, Lonnie Ali, his widow, was there at that event. And I said, Lonnie, and I introduced myself, and I said, I've written about you in my book. And my book is in your goodie bag. And
Wow.
she was so excited. And it was such a neat thing because she was there. What are the chances of her being there at this Power of Love event? And, it was honoring at the time Lionel Richie, who's just made such a great difference for us here with that and the money he's raised and all. But it was a beautiful thing because it was like that get I got from the give. It was a total get for me. And it was probably, if you talk to her, a get for her because she was so excited to know that he was honored in this book.
Right.
And so she wrote this beautiful piece, on the chapter for me. And it was a neat thing. It came from out of the blue. So that would be one of those moments that I couldn't have expected the exceptional, but I got the exceptional. And I know it's because Soul Spirit, and I know it was because he was there. And I know it was because I had done the right thing by him, and, so on and so forth. So that would probably be a topper.
Pretty cool.
5.
Yeah. That's pretty epic. Wow. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, this has been incredible, Kimberly. You're such a pleasure and such a wealth of information, and it's such a pertinent topic. And I know everyone out there would love to continue to, well, first off, I know there'll be many people who want to, actually get your book. And what is the best way for them to find it? I'm assuming, all the normal places or connect with you and to continue to follow your work.
Well, thank you. So yes, it's available at retailers nationwide and of course, Amazon and different online retailers. And then I have a website, which is KimberlyFriedmutter.com. And there's a newsletter sign up there, which comes out weekly. The site is up and running in great shape, and the newsletters are being reconstructed. I'm working on some e-courses, as we had discussed before, because the private practice is really, really great if anyone's visiting Las Vegas. But what's really nice is the information is so transmutable. It's easy to get and get a hold of, and you can try the book and see if you like it and if it resonates with you. But the beauty is you have this, and I want most everyone to know that you're right. Whatever it was you were thinking, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important because women sometimes try to corner the market on the subconscious, on instinct and woman's instinct and all this kind of thing. But the truth is we all have it, and everybody has it. Nobody doesn't have it. And it's a matter of really just tapping in and using it and enjoying it and really just letting it make your life so much easier.
Yeah.
Because aren't we just really all after this enlightenment, happiness, and easy? So what if it were easy? Wouldn't that be great?
Wouldn't that be great? I like that story. And let's tell it. And thank you for telling it here today. I do have one final question for you, Kimberly, and it is this. Mm-hmm. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life, according to Kimberly Friedmutter?
Oh my goodness. I guess others, because when you experience something, did it really happen? You could question, but if you're sharing it with others, it's the validation that yes, it did. And that a good time was had by all. I think others. Yeah.
I love that.
It's so core to our primal way and our soul and our spirit. And, I loved what you said at opening when you circled back on that saying and you added your own. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you could repeat that. Do you remember how you put it? It was so beautiful.
Yeah. So I basically, I think what you're referencing is where I threw out the Gandhi quote, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. And I always add to that, the reason being that holds true is because there are no others. And, you're ultimately always doing it to self. And the consciousness that animates my form is the consciousness that animates your form. And so you're always going to find your highest fulfillment in service to others for that very reason. You're going to find the opportunities to give away what you want for yourself to others. Always do it. That's how you create it for yourself. That's how you create that energetic cord, and it circles back on you. It's just like the opposite holds true true as well. All deception is an act of self-deception. You're always doing it to yourself. And so when you can really tap into that and understand that that is the nature of the situation in which we find ourselves, it becomes the good kind of selfish. The more I do for you, the more I'm doing for me, and all the tide raises all ships. That, like you said, and that is just it's the path forward. This idea of separation mentality is it's time to lay that one to rest and realize what's good for you is good for me, because there's only one of us in the room at all times.
I love it. Well, I love you, me.
Yes, I love you, me. You are such a beautiful reflection, and I look forward to our path crossing in 3D, perhaps sometime when you are in the Los Angeles area again. So, I have a feeling that will happen at some point. I hope it does.
That would be so great. It'd be my greatest pleasure.
Well, thank you, Kimberly, yet again. And all of you out there listening, until next time, journey well. Love you so, so much. Yeah, thank you. And you make it really, really easy. So, who knows? Maybe we could even, if you're in Los Angeles at some point, perhaps, come on to Optimistic, which is, the whole video production. Yeah, that could be. What's my direct contact? Yep. So, I'll give you my email, phone number, whatever you'd like. Okay. Ready? Okay, so it's Brandon at the new site is new show is Optimistic, OPTIMYSTIC.tv. Brandon at optimistic.tv, and then also my number is 949-836-4285. Yes, please do. Mm-hmm. 2233. Love it. Yeah, and I'm curious because maybe you have some advice for me. As you know, I basically have 3 episodes in the can for Optimistic, and we're just about within the next few days, I'm going to have a sizzle put together and looking to just kind of step out and take it around to the networks. And it's all new. I've been blessed. The podcast has been, consistently in the top 5 and spirituality on iTunes for the last few years. Until a month or so ago, they did something totally different. And everyone disappeared, and I think they're getting rid of iTunes. And so anyway, it's done really well, but now it doesn't even show anywhere in any of the ratings, which I don't know why. But transitioning. Yeah, they're doing away with iTunes. I know completely. So all my other friends who are kind of up there with me, there's a lot of us the same for a long time, and then they're like, "Hey, where'd we go? Like, it's gone." And so anyway, but making this transition into video is a whole new world for me, and I know you have some experience in that realm. So I don't know if you have any advice or input on, one of the things that I'm looking to do is to go out and kind of take it around, shop it to the networks without I've done, I've had an Inc. 500 fastest growing private company, and I started it with no startup capital, and I've always done everything on my own. So it's like, I have very little to no expectation doing that. But that being said, I know how ready the world is for more of this type of content and how cool the production looks and feels and all of that. And, it's sort of the golden age of television. People are snatching, Netflix is buying all the stuff. Everyone's trying to get, their own content. So, curious if you have any insider advice or even people that it would be good to take it to say, hey, here's the sizzle, I don't know. I have not done. Mm-hmm. Yep.
traditional EFT agent.
Yep.
So